Well, the countdown clock ran this week. No technical difficulties. Welcome to another exciting edition of Realities May Vary, the show where we talk about whatever we want, basically. I said that before, and I'll say it again. He's Cody Gough. I'm Brian Noonan. That's the way, that's the two realities. They vary because we're different. Boy, that was a ham-handed explanation. I don't know why I started that way. I'm a little excited. We have a guest tonight, Cody, and that always gets me feeling like I'm back in the old place, the old days. Mm-hmm. But this is a new world order has happened. I'm last week in our last episode. Afterwards, I was accused of not staying in my lane. I was told that I should not talk about things and push my opinions on others, and I don't know how that can be, because that has always been my lane and your lane and our lane. We voice our opinions. And while those opinions may not always be popular, they are ours. And so the person told me I was better at telling stories. Why don't you just stick to telling stories? I was like, all right, here's a story. Once upon a time, there was a global pandemic that killed 600,000 people. The vaccine came out. It was free. Everybody could get it.
Terrible story.
It's a horrible story.
What an
it's
awful start. I wouldn't read that book. I'm not going to lie.
I think you would. Because I'd throw a baby in there and some puppies. Yeah. They'd be, So I don't know. I'm going to try to stay in my lane tonight, Cody. I don't know where that lane is, but I'm going to try to stay there.
It's in the fast lane to prison.
What?
I think I meant to say the insane asylum, but I lost that thread.
I don't know where that came from. I was like, he's quoting the Eagles, Life in the Fast Lane.
I did read The Road by Cormac McCarthy, which is a very dark
book.
Very dark, but it didn't depress me for some weird reason.
Because you hope one day to drag your son through a post-apocalyptic hellscape?
Well, I wouldn't say drag. I'd say accompany.
All right. You'll wander the countryside with him. Now, where will your wife have been? Will she have been devoured by zombies or killed in the blast? What would happen with her?
She's invited.
Oh, okay. Wow. Then it doesn't sound so bad, quite frankly. If you're going to be there and your wife and kid are going to be there. I mean, sure, there won't be food or running water or, any sort of comforts.
Well, depends on where it runs to and from. I have a whole different setup going on. I've got monitors all over the place. My eyes are going to be darting around like I'm reading a novel during the show. And I don't know. It's just different stuff.
Why are you changing the setup of your studio?
I know. I don't have that much space to move stuff around. And so things end up on top of each other. I've got to do a little bit of a redo. The whole camera situation. To drop my glasses, just everything's falling apart. I got this stool that I can supposedly stand on the stool, but then it leans and then I'm out of the shot. And then it's not that comfortable. Cause I feel like I'm going to fall off of it, but it's also kind of comfortable, but I'm wearing athletic shorts. So I might slide off. It's all a mess.
Wow. You are having a rough night.
Yeah. No,
now this is the new stool that you just got, correct?
It is.
So now are you questioning your past? Or your purchase, rather?
No, it's a great.
You may question your past too. I don't know.
Sure. No, it's just a lot of things to set up. Again, wedding ring is in the ring dish because again, fat fingers this summer. I don't know. I just went for a walk and I'm not gonna lie, the cicadas are so loud.
They're very loud.
I couldn't enjoy it. They're deafening. I was like, next time, because we brought the little baby on a walk, and I was like, literally, I'm bringing ear protection next time. And she was like, that's silly. That's too much.
That is silly. That's too much.
No, it's not. We walked under a tree, and my ears actually hurt. A sensation of pain actually went through my brain. And babies are way more sensitive with their hearing. Some say that before or just after a baby is born, they can hear molecules of air colliding with each other because literally that, or atoms or whatever. So I'm just saying
they can hear the air. You're claiming that a baby, an infant, postpartum can hear the air.
I don't remember
Not
if it was
wind.
before.
We're all hear the wind. I know you're a science broadcaster, so I'm not casting aspersions at this point.
No, it's
please
legit. No,
elaborate.
their hearing is very, very sensitive. And I interviewed this guy, David Owen, who wrote a book called Volume Control. And it's all about how once you damage any part of your ears, the cells don't grow back. So like
Correct.
you cannot restore hearing, and hearing aids are an entirely different thing that you have to like retrain yourself to even interpret the signals. So, and he's like, dude, it all builds over time. All those like concerts you go to where your ears are blown out, all the times you mowed the lawn without ear protection, all that stuff, it builds up. So I don't want to be walking my kid around with these deafening cicadas and then, it'll be like 50 years. Oh, sorry, Dad, can't hear you now because the cicadas killed my hearing. Okay, so like that's not going to happen. But if I can prevent it by throwing little earphones on him while I'm walking around and these painfully loud cicadas are singing, I'm going to do it because it's no skin off my back. Baby doesn't care. It doesn't build him up or make him tough to make him hear.
I wasn't saying that. I'm wondering what the decibel. I know there is a certain decibel range where your hearing can be damaged. I'm doubtful that is the decibel range that the cicadas are hitting.
It is.
But
it is. And I got earphones for him, Marta, and I've got him. I guarantee you, if my ears physically hurt, like I've been at Guns N' Roses concert and my ears didn't hurt because they're really good, but they were loud. These cicadas, I walked under a tree and it hurt. It actually hurt. And I was like, no, I'm not doing this.
All right. Well, listen, you fear nature. I know you want to stay inside.
I do.
You also work with headphones on all day.
I do.
So your hearing may be a little goofy anyway. We had the windows open the last couple days and the cicadas were very loud. I'll give you that. But not to the point where I was like, rolling around on the ground like a lunatic with my head covered up. I was, I seemed fine, but listen, you got to do what you got to do. I'm never gonna mock a man for protecting his hearing
or his son's hearing.
Oh, I'll definitely mock a man for protecting his son's hearing. The kid fend for himself.
I'm not wearing the the headgear. I've got the other side.
What are you wearing, a helmet? What's the frequency, Kenneth? Tinfoil hat on?
It's high. It's high.
The frequency is high?
Yeah.
So are you? Wow, I think Cody just left. That's exciting. I don't know.
Remote. It's very exciting. Get the remote for my fan because it's also 100 degrees in here. It's part of the whole room falling apart deal.
Yeah, what's going on? You had everything so perfect, and now you're changing things around, and the equipment is falling apart, and the cicadas are ruining your son's hearing. What's going on out there in the western suburbs? It sounds horrible.
Summer.
What started out as so lovely when you were talking about your home and your son and everything else, everything sounded so great. And now you're boo-hooing like a lunatic.
That was before nature intervened.
Boy, nature.
I don't mind nurture. No, I prefer nurture.
I'll nurture somebody in nature until I get stopped by the cops, the forest preserve.
Oh.
Did you ever make out in the forest preserves when you were in high school?
No, I went to a parking ramp of a mall one time after it was closed. Security caught us. That was a mistake.
When I was in college, the girl I was dating lived in the far northwest suburbs, and I would drive. It was like a 90-mile round trip from my parents' house to her house. But there was a forest preserve. I thought of this later. This should have raised a red flag for me, because we had gone out and she was like, "Oh, this was the middle of the day. Hey, let's go. Let's go to the forest preserve." And she knew exactly where to go, where there was like a cleared out spot in the tall grass. I was like, I wonder how she knows all. I didn't think about it then because it was like, woohoo. But years later, as I mulled over my past life, I went, how'd she know that was there? That's weird. And then one night we were at the park right by her house. But yeah, I've done, outside is always fun. Making out. A lot of car makeouts, That's where I like nature. I like the breeze blowing on me.
Is making out in a car nature?
No, making out in a car is not nature, but if you park the car and open the windows, then it's kind of nature.
What if you park the car and have a yard?
Then I'm probably going to ride horseback and announce that the British aren't the only thing that's coming. You know what I mean?
Hi-oh.
Good morning.
Wait, before the guest, we bring in our very special guest. We need to tease what we're talking about after, don't we?
If you'd like, go ahead. Yes.
got some big things. Brian and I saw each other in the human flesh personage.
Yes, the human flesh personage.
Over the weekend, there was a get together that we will allude to at this moment, but delve into later. Craig Lee was there, whom
Craig was there. Roger was there.
He specifically told me not to extend his name, but I just did it. Apologies. So Craig was there.
I was going to say he didn't want you to mention he was there, or he didn't want you to call him Craig Lee.
He didn't want me to call him Craig. I mean, yeah, we've had this conversation. Remember, extending people's names, like when I'm Brianicus, or Brianjamin. Ooh, that'd be a good one. Brianjamin.
Hello, I'm Brianjamin.
Anyway, sorry. You were saying other people were there?
No, there were Roger was there, and our friend Jeff from the old place was there, and about 100 other people were there. It was quite a soiree, quite a to-do. Your son was there, which was a joy and a panic for me all at the same time. So we will get into... we're going to talk a little bit about beer. Speaking of staying in our lane, Cody, we're going to be talking about beer tonight, because not one particular kind of beer, the industry. And when I say the industry, I mean the business. And when I mean the business, I mean the business of beer, because we are going to be talking to the executive director of the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild. One of their big events is back. Things are opening up. For how long? I don't know. What would you put if you were going to bet on how long things will remain open, what would you put it at?
I had a conversation with one of the people at this lovely get together over the weekend who follows the news and, let's say, is very involved with news making. It wasn't Roger, and thinks that the policies really with closing are driven by hospital capacity, which, according to him, we're still nowhere near, and it's not really a concern the way it was a year ago when we closed things. So this is all secondhand. This is all speculation, but his optimistic take is really, unless the variant gets way worse or another worse one comes out and our hospital starts to get all jacked up, that's when things are going to shut down again.
Correct.
I don't know if I agree with that, because maybe Pritzker will just be like, there's a lot of cases. I don't want that. Let's just close things. But I don't know.
I think we're going to be wearing masks and stuff for a while.
Yeah.
But let's not dwell on that, because in the short term, things are open and we're coming back. And by we, I mean everybody. We're getting out. We're doing things again. And it is very exciting for me that beer events are back. Because, Cody, last summer, I spent a lot of time doing my own beer festivals in my backyard. I would just lay beers around the grass. I would walk around. Then I would ask myself questions about those beers. And it was... it was a horrific time, but now beer is back, and one of the premier beer events in Chicago is presented by the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild, who also put on FOBAB. They have Beer Under Glass. It is back, and we are very happy to welcome back a woman who has joined us many times before. Danielle D'Alessandro is the executive director of the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild, and as excited as we are, Danielle, the brewers and you at the Guild must be over the moon that things are actually coming back and we are getting, quote unquote, back to normal. Welcome. Good to see you.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me on tonight. You're absolutely right. We are excited to get back.
Yeah, it's so for those who don't know, explain quickly, what does the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild do?
The Illinois Craft Brewers Guild is the nonprofit trade association that represents Illinois' diverse craft beer industry. We went from having probably around 40 breweries in 2010 to 300 today. I was at an event earlier this evening, actually, where I had somebody ask me, like, so are there any new breweries that are opening soon that I should check out? And I was actually like, yes. And I ran down the list, and before I knew it, I'm naming like 5 or 6 breweries that are planning to come online this year. And it hit me that we're still growing, we're still expanding, and people are still opening up craft breweries. So it's good to be back, and it's good to be able to start hosting events again where we can actually promote these brewers and showcase their product with consumers.
Cody, did you have something? You look like you were ready to jump.
Yeah. I mean, pre-pandemic, obviously, was that growth still increasing, or because there are so many amazing great breweries opening up? Was that growth starting to slow, or are we still in the midst of like the craft beer revolution taking off?
I think we saw a little bit of a slowdown near 2019, certainly into 2020. although we still had probably 2 or 3 breweries that opened during the pandemic. Some breweries actually opened up second locations. And so, no, we've definitely gotten through, that initial kind of 2010 to 2016, 17 explosive growth. But it's certainly not ending, and we are seeing new breweries come on, and in untraditional places too, or at least not in Chicago or in highly trafficked markets. We're seeing breweries that are still looking to open up in rural parts of the state, which we love.
Nice. Now, obviously, the industry took a hit last year, along with restaurants and everything else. What was the overall effect? Did we lose a number of breweries? I noticed, especially the breweries that I frequent, everybody was able to pivot to curbside, and while that did not obviously fill the bill, it kept a lot of places going. What was the overall damage from the pandemic?
We saw probably about 7 or 9 breweries close their doors last year, mostly due to the pandemic. There were 1 or 2 though that might have eventually closed their doors. Maybe the pandemic accelerated it. But I don't think we saw the massive closures that we anticipated, at least at the beginning of COVID. And in large part, it was due to the federal assistance that was provided with 2 rounds of PPP. That was critical for a lot of our small brewers. I think what's important to note though too is that just because a brewery didn't close last year doesn't mean that they're in the clear, or doesn't mean that they didn't have to lay off staff or furlough staff. I don't know a single brewery that didn't have to lay somebody off, colleagues off during that period. So it was certainly difficult. And while we're excited to welcome people back, and we love that folks want to come back out to the tap rooms and the outdoor patios, we're not through this yet, and we're still being cautious, particularly as we're seeing this new variant spreading. We just saw the headline that New York City today is moving to require proof of vaccinations for patrons that want to dine indoors at bars and restaurants. I certainly don't think that's coming to Chicago. I don't think that the mayor is going to enforce a policy like that. But again, we're not in the clear yet, and so we're happy to have folks back, but we're cautiously optimistic. But we were very happy to see so many of our breweries be able to come through the other end, mostly the other end of this pandemic.
It was definitely great news for everybody who enjoys beer, not only at their local place, but anytime they're out around the state. It's great. Okay, so with it being back, and you mentioned, everybody's trying to be careful. Beer Under Glass is back for the 11th year. We would have loved to say 11th year in a row, but last year screwed everything up. But I think we could still say the 11th year in a row. It's the 11th year for Beer Under Glass. It's happening Friday, August 27th at Garfield Park Conservatory. If people haven't been there, it is an incredible event. It's a little different this year because normally it's basically the highlight of Illinois Craft Beer Week. This
Absolutely.
year, things have been scaled back a little bit. And tell people what they can expect if they get tickets and they go to Beer Under Glass. And if they've been there before, how it's going to be a little bit different this year.
Certainly, absolutely. There are definitely some changes that we've had to make this year. The Chicago Park District actually still has capacity restrictions in place, so we have a much more scaled back version. We actually have 2 sessions for the first time ever this year, and that was in part to ensure social distancing and putting the health and safety of all of our patrons and our craft beer fans first. And so we'll have those 2 sessions. We'll have a half of the attendance that we normally do at each session, which will really provide an opportunity to walk around the gardens and be able to spread out. All of our brewers will actually be outside this year, which is different from years past. In years past, we've had brewers spread out throughout the conservatory indoors as well as outside. This year, again, just due to COVID safety, we've decided to have all the brewers outside. Patrons will still be able to walk inside and be able to explore the gardens. But again, there won't be any beer inside, and there won't be any designated activities that are happening indoors. Mm-hmm. So this is really an opportunity to enjoy the last bit of summer that we'll have here at the end of August, and to enjoy. We have 74 breweries this year, so unfortunately we had to scale back again just due to those restrictions that were in place. And so, this is also the favorite event of many of our brewers too. And so we were very disappointed that we had to turn some away that didn't make the cutoff, but we're happy to have a great lineup of Illinois breweries for folks to try and to just explore the gardens and walk around, and again, not be so close to folks. And that also means shorter lines. So
Yes.
less waiting in lines for your favorite beer. So we're excited about that too.
And I think even though you make a great point, because it's a unbelievable venue to have a beer fest. And like you said, an event, normal in the past, beer brewers were set up inside and set up outside, but it was like any great beer event, there were lines. So this one, you have a shorter window that you could be in there, but less people. So it all works out. It all works out fantastically.
Truly, I was going to say, I mean, what could be more perfect than spending a summer Friday afternoon at a conservatory outside within the gardens, having some of the best Illinois beer? I can't think of anything.
I can't either. Cody, can you think of any? Cody has a weird mind, Danielle. You know that. He might be able to think of something that he thinks would be better.
Even I can't think of anything.
There we
better.
go.
I mean, the weather's been so beautiful too. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be just wonderful.
Absolutely.
So this obviously Beer Under Glass, which again is at the Garfield Park Conservatory, Friday, August 27th. You can look right on the screen. IllinoisBeer.org is where you can get all the information and your tickets. Tickets going fast because, again, as you said, Danielle, a smaller number of tickets this time. So they went on sale last week. I know I've been following the releases and the announcements. Tickets are going fast, so people have to get on this now if they want to go.
We're just about sold out of our second session for that evening. Still have a handful of tickets for the afternoon session. Again, that's why I'm saying, take the day off. Drinking. Enjoy Chicago in the summertime. Again, what better place to be at than the Garfield Park Conservatory? So we're excited for folks to come back out. But yes, get your tickets soon. Friday evening, almost all sold out. Still have a handful of tickets for Friday afternoon. Look at me, I'm thinking it's the weekend already. And it's only Tuesday.
It's mentally where we can already project that far. How did the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild get in partnership? Because part of Beer Under Glass is to benefit the Garfield Park Conservatory Alliance. How did that partnership form?
Absolutely. So 11 years ago, there was a pretty serious storm that I believe destroyed part of the conservatory. And so at the time, the board president for the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild, shout out to Pete Crowley with Haymarket Brewery, he really wanted to help support their efforts to repair the damage. And so he decided what better way to do that than to throw a beer event and to raise funds, and came up with the name Beer Under the Glass for the garden. So we've just been, growing it and expanding it year after year, and adding new brewers year after year, which is pretty neat, right? And that's what I love too, is it's never going to be the same event, because you're going to have new brewers that are there, and they're constantly innovating and turning out new products. It's been pretty incredible actually to see the number of brewers that have even started to make hard seltzer and trying that from our breweries. And I will tell you, it is good. It is better than your Trulies and your White Claws. I highly encourage, if you're a craft beer fan or not, actually, if you're not a big beer drinker, try some of these hard seltzers from our local breweries. You don't want to miss out.
It does seem that no matter where you go or whatever your favorite brewery is, things are constantly changing. And even during the pandemic, when you would think, okay, they're going to maybe just stick to their basic beers, their core offerings. No, they were still, experimenting and cranking out all kinds of things. That's got to be one of the main tenets of these craft breweries, is the constant evolution, as opposed to the giant mega brewers who are just like, this is what we churn out and that's what you're getting.
But even the large brewers we've seen have had to innovate, right? They're coming out with their own hard seltzer lines, and that's in part driven by the consumer. We are in a society where there are innovations every day, and there are new products, and we're like, ooh, that looks good. I want that, and so that does put pressure actually on our breweries to continue to be creative and come up with new styles, new brands. But they love it, and the consumer loves it, and so it's a win-win for everybody.
Besides the obvious challenges that were the last year, as we start moving out of this, other than staffing, where's going to be the big challenge that you're hearing from the Illinois craft brewers that they're going to be facing? What's coming down the pike, whether it's legislative or just operations? What's going to be the big hurdles?
You're absolutely right. Staffing at this point is the most critical a piece for our brewers. Finding, and maybe it's not on the tap room side, but for a lot of our breweries that have kitchens, it's having kitchen staff and servers, and so that is proving to be a challenge for a number of our small brewers. Long term, that's a great question, and part of that we determine kind of as we progress. And so there are certainly going to be, some legislative initiatives that brewers will look towards. We just passed a bill this year, though, that was pretty impactful. So we're waiting for that to be signed by the governor. But that will kind of create this new model for brew pubs to be able to self-distribute, get their beer out to local bars and restaurants, and be able to interact directly with the retailer. We were able to get permanent curbside pickup.
Nice.
And then we also codified in state law the ability, if you're a small brewer and you want to make wine or spirits, you can do so and maintain your self-distribution of those products.
Oh.
Under the current interpretation, if you're a small brewery and you want to make spirits, you forfeit that ability to self-distribute the beer and the spirits. And so that was never the intent of the legislation or the statute when we started thinking about craft producers with beer and spirits years back. And so we wanted to make sure that that was clear in statute, that no, you can make more than one type of alcohol and sell that product to retailers. So that was a pretty big win. We were really happy about that. Two of the items, though, that did not make it in the final bill was permanent home delivery. You noted that during the pandemic, brewers were given temporary privileges to deliver to a consumer's home. That expired come July 1 of this year. So permanent home delivery and then direct-to-consumer beer shipping. We were unable to get those two items across the finish line due to pretty intense opposition. And so those are going to be items that our small brewers still really care about. Yeah. And we saw that movement this past year with the pandemic. There's about 13 states right now that allow direct-to-consumer beer shipping, but there was no shortage of states this past year, or this year, I should say, during the legislative session that were introducing bills around alcohol delivery, shipping, et cetera. So those will be items that will continue to be important to these small brewers as they have to market and get their brand out to the consumer. And there really shouldn't be a reason in 2021 why, if there's a brewery in central Illinois that you really enjoy, but they don't have the volume or the market to distribute up in Chicago, there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to go online and click a button and that beer shouldn't be able to be shipped to me. But
where does that opposition come from? Is it the restaurant associations? Is it is it distributors, big retailers? Who's against this?
Our biggest opposition was the beer distributors, the wholesalers, and they were able to pull a couple of other stakeholders into that mix. What's really interesting to me is this idea that alcohol beverage, this industry, I feel like they think of it as a zero-sum game, right? That you can't have everybody at the table. And I just really disagree with that philosophy. Yeah. I think that we are part of an ecosystem that can continue to expand, that can continue to provide flexibility and opportunities for small businesses, whether you're in the first tier as a producer, whether you're in the second tier as a wholesaler, or whether you're in that third tier as a retailer. We can all work together to make this industry stronger and to make it more attractive when it comes to innovating products, when it comes to access to products. This when we talk about craft beer and around alcohol beverage, the provisions, the items that we're talking about when it comes to flexibility is not going to lead to increased underage drinking. It's not going to lead to increased there's this ill of society that the distributors like to talk about. This is really meant, again, for the consumer that is now wants to be able to purchase everything online with a click of a button. It's giving them that opportunity to do so. And it's not restricting and preventing the small business from growing and having access to that consumer.
There's already apps for spirit deliveries. Is it because those apps go to retailers to get the supplies? Like if I use Drizzly or something like that, they're going and purchasing it at retail stores. Is that the big difference for people who are opposing this, saying, well, if, as you mentioned, a brewery down in Southern Illinois, I like their beer, why can't I get it here? Well, because you're bypassing all the middle tier and the third tier.
You nailed it, Brian. It is because it is bypassing the three-tier system. It has not gone through that second tier and then been sold to the third tier, that retailer. I understand that argument. At the end of the day, though, too, the distributors are going to do better if craft brewers are doing better.
Mm-hmm.
And craft brewers do better when they're able to grow their market share. Well, they can't grow their market share. They're not going to expand their volume if they can't interact with the consumer and they don't have a way to do so. And so again, there's this philosophy around this zero-sum game. I've just never understood it, because we've seen the decline, the start of the decline of people buying domestic beer, and they're looking to craft, they're looking to imports, and they're looking to hard seltzers. They're looking for these innovative products. And so to me, the distributors would be wise to look and say, we may not be able to carry their product now. They're too small for us to bring them onto our portfolio, but maybe someday they will. Maybe with these additional privileges, they'll be able to grow and we can carry them someday and they can be one of our brands.
Yeah.
And that's great for everybody.
Yeah, because it is difficult when you go to a big retailer. And for example, I found a new brewery a couple weeks ago up in Buffalo Grove. We were up there and found Liquid Love, and it was fantastic. And we talked about it here. One of the best milk stouts I've ever had. Well, I went to my local Binny's and I said, do you have, oh yeah, they're kind of far up there. So maybe one of the stores up there would have it. And I'm like, it's not that far. I mean, it's less than an hour drive, but I'd like to be able to drive 5 minutes and get it, or have it delivered, because I've gotten wine delivered to my house since the pandemic started. I get everything else.
Yep.
It would be nice for these breweries to have that avenue to grow their market share. And then, all these retailers would go, oh, look at these guys. Yeah, let's bring them in.
Exactly. That's exactly the point.
So the retailers should have to prove that they can handle every single craft brewery in Illinois. If they can't, then it's like, sorry guys, look, we're gonna have to go to other stores.
That would be a tough feat, but I really appreciate the enthusiasm there for sure.
Yeah, we'd like to see 300 different. There'd be 1 6-pack or 1 4-pack from each brewery, one of the 300 breweries. You have to just run.
It's certainly. I'll also say too, it's a hard job though, also as a retailer, because you have tens of thousands of beer brands that you're trying to choose from on any given basis, that the consumer is going to want. It's not just Illinois beer. They have to consider out-of-state brewers. They have to consider imports. They have to consider having maybe, a couple domestic beers on draft to keep folks happy. Yeah. So it's challenging too. And why I also argue for these kind of this flexibility and these provisions is because there are just not enough wholesalers to represent all of the breweries and the brands that we have now. We've had this dramatic shift in the U.S. Where we had this, proliferation of craft brewers over the last decade, and we've had incredible consolidation of wholesalers. Wholesalers were very similar to craft breweries at conception, where they were these family-owned small wholesalers that represented, a couple of towns or a territory in their neighborhood, their neck of the woods. And then we've just seen the shift where, second, third generation sons or daughters didn't want to run the distributorship, and so they sold it to another distributorship. So again, consolidation, while you saw, thousands of small brewers open up. So there's no way for a wholesaler to represent all those brands. We don't expect them to, but then let's provide the opportunity for those small brewers to also be able to represent their brand to the retailer.
Yeah, definitely. Well, one of the ways is not only beer under glass, but FOBAB, which you guys pivoted last year and did. It was kind of a virtual FOBAB, right?
It was FOBAB to go, or FOBAB at home, I think was our line.
Yes. So as we look forward, everybody's optimistic. FOBAB should be back in person this year as well.
We are planning on that. We are actually, though, looking at doing a hybrid model, so where we would still have an in-person component, but reduced capacity. I think that COVID maybe helped us take a step back and evaluate the events that we do, the experience for the consumer that's coming. And as someone who's been to a FOBAB, that there are times that it can get a little tight in UFC Forum, a little hot. And so we're looking at reducing that capacity for our sessions, and then also still doing a to-go model where we have the 6-packs that folks can just pick up. So we're looking at both of those. We haven't made any official announcements yet, but we're likely to be back at our same location Little hard to make a venue change when everyone is trying to host an
Yes.
event for the second half of this year. So likely back at the same location, but we'll be announcing those details shortly.
Well, we don't need to worry about being cramped inside at the Garfield Park Conservatory on the 27th. Beer under glass. Again, if you want to go to a really unique, really beautiful setting for an event where you're not only supporting Illinois craft brewers, but you're supporting the Garfield Park Conservatory Alliance, it all blends in. Tickets are on sale now, but they are going fast. 2 sessions. I like your idea, Danielle. Why not start early? Go to the early session, take Friday off, an afternoon out. Then by the time the session's over, you get in your Uber, you go to dinner. Oh, it's a beautiful night. Beautiful night.
And then you wake up on Saturday morning and you feel great.
Yes. Yeah.
You're ready to take on the day.
Because you fell asleep really early.
Exactly.
After trying to sample 73 brewers at Beer Under Glass. Cody, do you have, I feel like I've been neglecting you, even though I texted you to jump in with your questions.
I always jump in with all my questions. No, I've got everything very much handled. Cannot wait for this or for Fobab to come back, by the way, because I'm a barrel-aged beer guy. And Brian and I, last time we went, it was just like the best. And he's the pro, though. He's the one that brought the pretzel necklace. So
I'm one of those beer event dorks, Danielle.
Are there any
You're
other?
pro, you're seasoned.
Are there any other tips besides pretzel necklaces for first timers that are going to be able to make it to this?
Yes. Don't bring stuff. Try to bring as little as possible, so you don't have to keep track of it. We have very limited space to hold backpacks, purses, etc. So it would encourage people to travel light. Eat something beforehand. That's never a bad tip. We're a little limited, I should say, in the food that we can offer with our concessions. So and no one wants to break away from a barrel-aged beer festival to sit down for a big meal. So encourage you to eat beforehand. Hydrate, but we do have water that's available. We allow folks to bring in an empty water bottle if they want to fill that. Otherwise, they can just use their glass, but they're welcome to fill a water bottle. So think about bringing that. And outside of that,
some sunscreen, because we're going to be outside at the Garfield Park Conservatory.
We're talking about the conservatory. I thought we were talking about Fobab.
Well, both. But I think I think those rules apply to any time you're going to a big beer event. Eat something beforehand. Stay hydrated. Don't feel like you have to get all 74 breweries in the first hour.
Please don't. We'll probably ask you to leave.
Right, because you're never. That's the only thing, and it doesn't matter if you're at Beer Under Glass or Fobab or any beer event. There's always going to be some breweries you miss, but that's why you come back the following year so that you can get them next time. See?
Exactly. But no, I think all the tips probably stay true, particularly with this rise of hazy IPAs. Tend to be a little higher in ABV. So yeah.
Before we let you go, Danielle, besides you talked about some of the breweries pivoting into like hard seltzers because that's what people are drinking. Is there anything else? Do you have any insight into like a coming trend that maybe we don't know about yet that you've been talking to these brewers and like this is going to be the hottest thing after seltzers? Because it was sours, then it was the hazy IPAs and the milkshake IPA, all of that stuff. So something's coming down the pike.
I think you're right. I learned yesterday, I think I'm going to get the name right. The brewers and the beer fans on the show will be probably more accurate than I am. But I learned about wet lagers. So it is a lager that is also made with IPA yeast.
Okay.
So it's a lager, but has the yeast of an IPA, a pale ale in it. So I don't know if that's the next thing, but I thought that was interesting.
But somebody's going to try it, or a couple places probably.
Maybe, and we see every quarter there's data that comes out that looks at trends and what's selling. And, we've certainly, hard seltzers have far and away dominated when it comes to new products and that innovation. You're seeing, more interest in low alcohol beers, a little bit more than non-alcoholic beers.
Right.
But you're seeing kind of a slow rise. But at this point, that just hasn't taken off. And in the same way or anywhere close to hard seltzers. So that could be something to that maybe more brewers get into. But I do see them experimenting with more, it being more innovative on the beer or even other product side. If they're looking at doing something with wine, or if they're going to explore looking into mead, or again, making some type of other alcoholic product. I think that's where brewers might start exploring in the near future.
Very nice. Well, hopefully we will run into each other at Garfield Park Conservatory for Beer Under Glass.
You guys better say hi.
Oh, well, we will be looking for you. We'll
I'll
say
be there
hi.
all day.
We'll say hi early when our eyes are still clear. Beer Under Glass is happening Friday, August 27th at the Garfield Park Conservatory. There are 2 sessions, 3 to 6 and then 7 to 10. Tickets are on sale now, but they are going very fast. Go to illinoisbeer.org. Make sure you get your tickets and come out and have a wonderful time. Support local breweries, and so Illinois breweries all over. Doesn't matter where you are. And the Garfield Park Conservatory Alliance. Danielle, it is always great to see you. It's been too long. I am so glad we are going to be back live enjoying beer at exotic locales.
We are too. Really excited to have you join us that day.
Thanks. Nice to
We'll
see
toast
you.
And have a beer then.
That sounds great. Take care, Danielle. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Beer Under Glass with Beer Under Glass is Friday, August 27th, Garfield Park Conservatory. Again, go to illinoisbeer.org to get all your tickets. Cody, I could not be more excited that things are coming back, because as you know, part of my only social life is going to beer events and visiting breweries and trying to find new places to have a drink.
That's about right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't like to, beer people are good people because they're gregarious, and a lot of them will keep to themselves, much like myself. So it's perfect. And I always love talking to the brewers because there's always a story behind their brewery and behind the beer, and they're always willing to share, information. So it's really cool. So I'm very happy. And listen, if you're traveling around the state during the summer, go to the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild website, because there's a map on there with breweries all over. You heard Danielle say there's over 300 craft breweries in Illinois. So go there to illinoisbeer.org, get the map, travel around, see what's up. Maybe you'll stumble across something cool like we did a couple weeks ago with Liquid Love. And, you'll have a good time. So
I don't know if you remember this, but last year, there's obviously pandemic hit, and like 2 months later, I'm moving out of the burbs. So I had a lot on my plate, but I don't know if you remember this, but I missed the virtual FOBAB announcement. And I didn't find out that it was happening until like a week after. And I lost my mind. I was so upset. I was just like, how did I miss this? Because you and I somehow just hadn't talked about it.
Yeah, we hadn't talked about FOBAB too much. I think we were so depressed that the world had shut down that we were not paying attention.
Well, like I said, I mean, I just wasn't on top of any events. And, obviously I had a lot going on with the move and wife being pregnant and stuff. So it's not like, I wasn't doing anything. And I think part of me had just assumed that, like everything else, it was canceled. It wasn't going to happen. Right. Yeah. And it is no longer safe to assume that with anything. So it's, I think it's really great that we were able to have her on to talk about this event, because I think, first of all, a lot of people don't know about the events that are now happening. But second of all, there are more events now happening than people realize. And like she said, everyone's fighting to get a space. Yeah. So there's a lot happening at once right now.
And because there's going to be some capacity limits, if you even think you want to go, you got to get your tickets quick.
Yeah. But in so many things were pushed from, July or June to September, let's say. Mm-hmm. So everything regularly scheduled in September is now up against all the stuff that was going to be in July. So, I mean, the next couple of months, there's going to be a lot going on, and people are going to try and cram things in before, things maybe get worse again. And then, while they can. So there's this like a shrinking window. And I think it's just, if you want to have a party, plan it now. Let's just say that.
Definitely. If you need to get a venue. But I was at Beer Under Glass, the last one. So 2 years ago, at Beer Under Glass. And First of all, the Garfield Park Conservatory is gorgeous.
It's
I
great.
had never been there before because it's flowers and plants. But once I was in there, I loved it. And I like flowers. I have flowers in the house all the time. But so it was gorgeous. And the layout was amazing because you'd walk along and there'd be brewers just tucked in the greenery, and you go, oh, well, what? It's like you're walking down a trail and you find an arrowhead or something. Oh, look at this little brewery just hiding here in the ferns, and then you'd stop and have a little beer and walk on. And then outside it's gorgeous, so it'll be a lot of fun. I encourage you to go if you are a beer lover, just to help support. And so again, our thanks to Danielle D'Alessandro, who is the executive director for the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild. I didn't go out for beer this weekend. I did have a new beer this weekend. Not Friday night. Friday night, I went out with my family for pizza. And you're familiar with Two Brothers Brewing, correct?
I thought you were going to say you're familiar with pizza, right? I am.
You've heard of pizza, haven't you, Cody? It's an Italian dish.
Oh, it's Italian. It's not Italian.
It could be Italian at a pizzeria.
Ooh.
I don't know if it's Italian or Italian or Italian. Could be Italian.
Mamma mia.
Mamma mia, it's a spicy meatball. Oh, I just canceled myself. Did you hear me?
I did. I caramba is what I do.
Caramba is correct.
I'm part Italian, so I think you can get away with it. I don't know.
Doesn't matter. Italians. I love Italian food. Sam asks if we've heard about Minocqua Brewing Company from Wisconsin. They have quite the story. No, I'm going to have to check them out. I like the stories. I like the beer. That's what can I tell you? But Two Brothers is based out in Warrenville, and they have a place in Aurora and some other. They make very nice beer. And we were in Homewood, in my old stomping grounds, at Aurelio's, which I happen to mention in the book. Pizza for Everyone. I'm getting all the plugs in, Cody. I'm just a media whore now. That's all. I'm in this book. You should buy it, and or you should go buy it right now. No, you should.
No. The other part.
That I'm a media whore.
Now, yeah.
Now I am.
I always have been. I don't know. I thought this is new for you.
I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, Two Brothers made a special beer for Aurelio's. It was like batch 59 or something. And it was really, really good.
Dude, so Two Brothers is amazing.
Yeah, Two Brothers is great. So they made this Aurelio's beer. And I was like, woohoo, I found another beer that a new beer. And it was terrific. Except that, a lot of the people weren't drinking. So I was, I felt shamed.
The people you were with weren't drinking?
Yeah. No, a lot of my family wasn't drinking. But some of them were, so I didn't care. I wouldn't have cared anyway. I could be at the College of Cardinals, and none of them would be drinking, but I would be drinking. I could be in an Amish community, and they are all staring at me, and I'm having a beer. And you know how much it would bother me? None, nothing. I don't care. I stay in my lane, and my lane is drinking.
What kind of beer was it?
It was an amber. I believe it was like an amber ale.
I don't know if I like those.
Not overly malty. Very easy drinking.
Don't know if I like those. I feel like I've had a couple like amber or red ales or other types of ales in somewhat recent memory, and I don't know that I'm a fan. Ales are very hit or miss for me. Very touch and go. Okay. Very in and out. Very black and white. Very up and down. Very
Wow.
Inside out, right side up.
You are conflicted about the ales.
That's a lot.
Just conflicted. Well, Mike says Two Brothers has good coffee too. I've heard that. I've never had their coffee, but I do know they're a big coffee grinder over there as well. And their main place in Warrenville has a really great restaurant. The main brewery has a restaurant and tap room kind of thing. Oh, the food's fantastic. Delicious. It's not, Cody, you're out west. We'll have to take a little trip down the mighty Mississippi.
I love the mighty Mississippi.
Have a little dinner. I know you want to get to the tale. I need to tell this story and see how you would react.
All right.
Because part of me was proud of my reaction. Part of me was kicking myself that I've become more evolved and I didn't go a little more, hard at this person. So I pull up the other day at Sam's to get gas. And I was on one side of the pump, and on the other side of the pump was a woman who was coughing like she had just gotten out of a tuberculosis ward. And she was not covering her mouth. She was just coughing. Now, granted, we were outside, and this was before they said we should all put our masks back on. So she's coughing like over the pump at me. And at this point, I was already in the middle of pumping gas, so I couldn't really do anything. And I guess I shot her a look during one of her extended hacking sprees. And she goes, "I'm not sick." Uh-huh. I'm not sick. I'm not sick. I have COPD. I can't breathe. And I wanted to ask her if COPD affected the ability to bring your hand up to your mouth, but I didn't. And I didn't want to get into a whole thing because, well, if you have COPD, technically you are sick.
Yeah.
So you're wrong on a lot of counts here. But do I want to be, listen, I'm trying to, 1, stay in my lane, and 2, evolve. Is it better for me to just allow her spittle and particulates to fly over the gas pump and shower me in whatever it is she is hacking out of her lungs and just go on about my merry way? Or do I make a stand and say something? I chose the former. I finished pumping my gas. I bit my tongue very hard. And then I got in my car and drove away. But I was like, when you're an adult, how do you not cover your mouth, especially if you're going on a coughing spree that may, in fact, I don't know what you're going to produce, what you're going to expectorate from your lungs onto the gas pump and me. But listen, I don't get, right now, Cody, I'm going to be a guy who pushes my opinions on people right here.
Uh-huh.
Cover your damn mouth, you pigs. If you're coughing or sneezing, cover your mouth. You go with we teach the kids at school, go with the elbow. Do the Dracula. Ha ha. But don't hack it all over.
If Mike says she's the douche cough new, that might be the quote of the night. When I sneeze,
thank you, Mike.
Actually, when I sneeze anywhere, I don't, well, I shouldn't say that. Inside, I'll usually cover it with my arm. But if I'm outside and I'm not in close proximity with somebody, I'll just sneeze down, generally into the ground, without covering myself.
Really?
I saw this stand-up routine or a joke or a comic strip or something. I don't even know what it was, but some funny person, some comedian or whatever, at one point said something about cats. Even cats are smart enough to know not to sneeze on themselves. You cover yourself in your germs. That's disgusting. They just sneeze. And that's always stuck with me. So if I'm outside and I'm just taking a walk and there's no one on the sidewalk and I go to sneeze, I'm like, achoo, and I just bend over and I just sneeze into the air because A, it's outside. B, I don't want to cover myself with that's gross. So if I'm inside, yeah, and anyone is near me, I'll put it in my arm or whatever, and that's fine. But there's times outside when I'll just kind of do it. But no, the pump thing doesn't make sense. If I'm at a gas pump, I'm not going to go sneeze on the handle of the thing. That's gross, right? If I was on the other side of the car and
I was less than 3 feet away from this woman.
No, that's unacceptable. If I'm on the other side of the car, let's say doing the windows or something, and there's no one on the other side of me, I might turn around and sneeze down because, again, it's not really going to filter to the pump. You're doing it with quite a lot of velocity. And if you do it down the right angle, it's not going to get anywhere, right? The idea of covering your sneeze is to prevent it from getting on other people. So I guess what I'm saying is I make the effort to not sneeze on other people, but sometimes that involves just sneezing down. And I think that's fine. But this person was out of line because even if she the reason she's coughing isn't that she has a cold or something, there are still we are microbiome, like we have microbes all over us, right?
Yeah.
And there's things in her mouth and stomach and lungs getting out into other people. There's biology that she's spraying everywhere. Even if it's not sick viruses, it's still microbes and cells and organisms and microorganisms that like live and do things. So like, don't do that. Everyone has germs. You don't want to spread the germs. And you spread the germs when you fire air out of your mouth at a high velocity. That's what germs do and are. And anyone with a third grade science education should know that. And I think it's a failure of our educational system. And I think it just shows that there needs to be a lot of reform. Back to you, Brian.
Wow. And that's coming from a science broadcaster, kids. This is not, Cody's not just talking out his butt. He knows of what he speaks. We are all filled with projectile germs that we project. Horrible. Well, that was, but I didn't feel like getting into a beef. Like now I would, because now the last week I've been wearing masks inside, and I'm noticing a lot of people wearing masks in the stores. I know that, they're saying you can. I went to Sam's today because, I'm a big shot. So I went to Sam's and they had a giant sign outside, giant, plastered to the bricks, that everybody had to wear a mask if you were coming into Sam's. Everybody. You want to shop at Sam's? Put on a mask. You don't want to wear a mask? Don't shop at Sam's. I don't know, because I put my mask on. So I don't look. And I didn't see anybody without a mask. So I'm hoping people will just do the right thing. Tom said his brother started not covering his sneezes indoors recently for some reason. He says, I know, in all caps, our mom taught us better. I'm sure she did, Tom. Moms are pretty good about teaching you to cover your mouth when you sneeze, especially indoors, because we've all had that experience where you catch something. You're like, man, thank God that didn't go on anybody. But so I've been wearing them. I don't want to, I'm not going to have the debate. I'm not going to get on my soapbox anymore, because if you're not wearing a mask and you're not vaccinated, it's your fault. So there you go. But we were at a potential. I'm waiting to see if Lala was a super spreader, because we were at a potential super spreader on Saturday night, Cody. Let's be honest.
Super. Let's say I'd step under sub super. I wouldn't say super.
Mid-level spreader.
No,
like
how
a
many
lawn
people
would we be at a lawn spreader?
Well, you tell me, how many people were there for out of town? What percentage? Outside, let's say the greater Chicago area. What percentage?
Oh, outside of the greater Chicago area, a very small percentage.
Yeah, I would say
there was one guy there who had to have a COVID test earlier in the week, though.
Well, was he negative?
He was negative.
I think it was fine. Everybody there was vaccinated, right?
Everybody I know was vaccinated.
I'm pretty sure everybody there was vaccinated.
Yeah, it seemed like an enlightened group.
But anyway,
that's right.
It was. Well, it depends. Well, okay, so it was a medium-sized gathering. Maybe CDC won't actually tell us what number of people is required for it to become, go from small to medium to large. So we don't know. Maybe it was small still, but I'm guessing it was medium at best. It was a large gathering.
It was over 100 people.
But Lala was like 60,000?
Right. So yeah, we're not as big as Lala.
I don't know if that's true. I'm going to fact check myself. How many people went to Lala?
Were those pictures of Fred Durst real?
More than 100,000 fans in attendance, according to onmilwaukee.com.
Why would onmilwaukee.com have the accurate numbers of, and I read onmilwaukee.com when I'm working at WTMJ, but
Block Club Chicago says Lollapalooza had more than 385,000 people.
That sounds more correct. Over a 4-day festival. And the aerial pictures of that, people jammed in to see Miley Cyrus twerking, and people crying because DaBaby got canceled for his homophobic remarks. And then Foo Fighters wrapping things up last night. The big talk of Lala, Cody, obviously was Journey being exposed to a new audience. And by all accounts, They rocked the house. That's right.
Yeah, I was just looking at your party was 0.02% the size of Lala, if that.
Okay. I wasn't comparing it to Lala.
You know,
for the
Journey
record
thing was, I kept hearing on the radio, Journey was giving away, there was a radio station giving away tickets to see Journey for their after show at the Aragon Ballroom.
Yeah, they did it. They did it, and I saw a couple people who were my age. I saw video of them from there. Actually, a local radio personality, a music DJ, Kara Caravu, she her video of them doing Wheel in the Sky got picked up by Rolling Stone. So kudos to her for that.
Pretty sweet.
They sounded listen, full disclosure, I love Journey. I did a lot of slow dance pelvic grinding to Journey songs, Faithfully and things like that. I rocked with Wheel in the Sky is my favorite Journey song ever. And that was before, what, you didn't pelvic dance to slow songs, Cody?
Wheel in the
You didn't do the Fonzie?
Right.
Yeah, well, those were the words. That's not really how it goes, but I'll give you that those were the words.
How does it go?
Yeah, those were the exact words.
Oh, but how does it go? If it doesn't go like that, it goes like that, doesn't
it? Kind of. I mean, I think you were mocking it, so I don't want to give you any.
What? No, it goes. That's how it is. It's like, dude, no. Wheel in the sky keeps on turning, and the harmony is like keeps on turning, and it's like that.
Yeah, just like that.
And that's how it goes. I'm just saying.
I know. Listen, it sounded lovely. If a goat had taken over for the Filipino guy who took over for Steve Perry.
I don't want goats.
I don't. So Journey was there. One of our old friends, Cash Era, was DJing all weekend at one of the stages. Every year, I think to myself, hey man, Lala would be cool. And then I say, no, Lala wouldn't be cool. This year, you could stream the whole thing. I think it was on Hulu. You could just sit home and pretend you were at Lala. Yeah, man. Crazy. Eights.
But did the Hulu stream come with a bunch of drugs and 18-year-olds doing them around you?
No, but the nice thing is, if you wanted to do those things, you could put your TV out on the back in your backyard, flood it so there's a lot of mud and dead grass, and then do whatever you wanted. If you wanted to participate in some sort of craziness, chemically or otherwise, or a little of the devil's salad, while you listen to, I don't know who was there, Toad the Wet Sprocket. I don't think they were there. I don't know, Cage the Elephant. Is that even that was a band, right? For a while?
I looked at the list. There were like two bands I'd heard of. One was Journey. I think the other was, I don't even remember, like
Foo Fighters.
Foo Fighters. Yeah, there you go. Foo Fighters. I don't know. No, it was there wasn't even an after show that piqued my interest, which is sad.
Where do they do the after shows? Where did those happen?
Oh, they're all over. You could see them. I mean, in past years, the Vic, the Aragon, the Concord Ballroom. I mean, they're all over. It's quite the smorgasbord of after show venues. They're across
here were the big acts. And I say the big acts because they're the top line from each night and they're in bold. So Thursday night, of course, Miley Cyrus wrapped it up. Illenium, never heard of them.
Oh, dude, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I would have seen Illenium. They're pretty rad. They're EDM AF.
Oh, N-O. K-Tronada. Don't know. Playboy Cardi. That's Playboy with an O-I.
Okay.
So that was Thursday night. Then Friday night, you got into Tyler, the Creator, Marshmello, Roddy Ricch, and Jack Harlow.
Now, I've heard of Tyler, the Creator.
I've heard of Tyler, the Creator. That's it. Friday night would not have been my night. Saturday night, Post Malone. I know who he is. Never heard of him. Journey. Woohoo. I'm finally in. Megan Thee Stallion. So I saw somebody, did you see somebody posted a video today of the Interpreter, on the side of all the big stuff, the Interpreter trying to do WAP. And the Interpreter was graphic. And I'm like, oh my Lord. So the song. And Limp Bizkit was on Saturday night too.
All right.
Did you see the pictures allegedly of Fred Durst?
No.
He looks like he's about 107 years old. Gray hair. Yeah, he looked a little crazy. And a lot of people were like, that can't be right.
That's
That
really weird.
That really can't be him. And yet, it seemed to be.
I didn't know they performed.
Oh yeah.
Like anywhere. Anyway. Okay. I would have seen them, ? I don't even know. I've also heard of actually, not only have I heard of Post Malone, my cousin was him for Halloween one year, but I did hear a Post Malone song come on my Spotify in the last week, and I liked it. I was like, this is good.
Okay.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, I can get on board with the Post Malone.
Yeah, I mean, I can't not like his music because I don't know his music. I know who he is, but I haven't heard him.
When did I enter the also doesn't know what's happening category? You?
Oh, yeah, you've been there for a while.
Okay, that's fair.
Last night, Foo Fighters, of course, closed it out.
Sure.
Young Thug. I knew his dad, Old Thug. I liked his stuff back in the day on 8-track.
Yeah.
Brockhampton and Modest Mouse, another band that I've heard of, but I didn't really know.
Okay, so Modest Mouse closing out the show, not impressed.
Didn't close out the show. They were the fourth big headliner on the main stage. Foo Fighters closed it out.
No, but how are they billed that high? Like, seriously?
I don't know. Band of Horses was there last night. G Hero. I don't know a lot of these bands.
I can't believe one of the top 4 biggest acts were Modest Mouse. Okay, Alice in Wonderland also played on Sunday. Alison. I've heard of Alice in Wonderland. I think she might be bigger. Big Wild, dude. I would have gone to see Big Wild on Sunday. Big Wild is amazing. Okay, I will caveat that. Big Wild, we preferred their not studio, their concert performance at the Concord Ballroom. I preferred that over their festival performance. So Brian, EDM DJs and EDM groups often have radically different sets depending if they're playing a show, a club, or a festival. So the show with Big Wild blew us away. It was like one of the top 5 shows we've seen. So good. Festivals, it didn't like translate. It's like the sound filled the space in a different way. And then if they had done like a club, usually if a DJ goes and does a club, it's also very different. Much more like dance focused and kind of ethereal, or not ethereal, but anyway, the atmosphere will shift significantly. And that's why some people will see one group in one venue and then not another, or see them in multiple venues and then decide which one they like them at the most. So anyway, there's some background there, but Big Wild was still really good with their festival set. They're just better. I like their concert set better. So
wow.
Yeah,
I'm not. That EDM stuff is not. It's not my deal. I know that makes me an old man. But yeah. So we were not at Lala. We were at a different festival. Yes. We were at the return of Noonan Fest after a 30-year absence. Noonan Fest returned. The brainchild of one of my brothers, and I think my mom had been mentioning it, I guess, in the past. That, it would be nice to bring it back one time. Here's a little history. So Noonan Fest started out as just a giant party in my parents' backyard, and it was for family. It was almost like a family reunion, but then it was family, and everybody invited their friends, and it turned into a big thing. And back in the day, my mom and dad would rent a tent from the village, and my mom would make meatballs and spaghetti, and people would bring food, and we would get a keg or two. And there were usually a couple of, the big jugs of Gallo wine. It was not, and people would bring desserts, and there'd be all kinds of food, and it would rage into the night. And as we got a little older, it would rage later and later in the night, to the point where every year there were people passed out in my mom and dad's backyard on their couches. Every year my dad would say the same thing, because my brothers and their friends were underage. So like, I don't know if he didn't want the party. He always enjoyed himself because he would sit out there and talk to everybody. But I'm not going to lose the damn house over this party because he was afraid. That's why they didn't care that everybody slept out. It was like Woodstock. People would still be drinking in the morning. You know, they would drink through the night. There were many times that we were taking up collections to go get a second and third keg. It was insane. So, but then I think the last one was right after Debbie and I got married. So, because we've been married 29 and a half years. So it was maybe 29 years ago was the last one. And it just, people moved away and people got older and all that. But it had moved from just a simple party to, you know, one year there was karaoke, then there was a bounce house. Then my cousin would design T-shirts every year. So then, you know, you had to get there early to get your T-shirt. So it had a life of its own. Well, my brother decided he was going to bring it back. And he has a big place, you know, with a giant, beautiful backyard. And so it happened. And I'll leave the politics out of it, the politics of the family, because as you can imagine, you've heard me talk about my family many times. Everything is not always smooth in the negotiation platforms, but everybody had something to do. All my brothers who lived out of town and their families came in. So everybody was there. That's why we all went out for pizza on Friday. And then Saturday morning, everybody was there at the house to help get things ready because the tent had been set up. But I'll let you as an outsider kind of give your impression as you arrived. Because I was very happy. Cody came and Roger came and their wives and families, and Craig came, and Jeff Carlin and his lovely wife Christine came, and a lot of people that I haven't seen, their families, and a ton of people I didn't know, so I didn't talk to them. But yeah, it was an event, wouldn't you say? Even though, as you shamed it, saying it was only 0.02% of Lollapalooza.
Sure. Well, you know, what can I say? The numbers don't lie. You know,
I believe science. I believe it.
There you go. No, it was very swanky. I mean, the house itself is very nice. I would describe it as a. I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but a party house, like a house that is designed for hosting. Like there is a full bar in the basement. There is a full granite giant bar in the backyard next to an outdoor hot tub and a little kind of pond, little pond down there.
Yeah, and his outdoor kitchen with the green egg and the gas grill.
Oh yeah, it's a whole outdoor kitchen. It's not even not just a bar, but I mean it is. So it is a house. Yeah,
it's an entertainment mecca.
It is an entertainment house. I've been to these before, particularly, you know, not in a direct area, but like in the Rockford area. You know, when you get a little further out, because it's a little bit outside the city. Yeah. So so first of all, there's that. So like, you know, you show up, you know that the facilities are equipped to handle a lot of people. It's pretty nice. But now we showed up, we rolled in. There's a couple bouncy castles there for kids to hang out in and play around with. So clearly entertainment for the kids. All right. Big balloons that say Noonan Fest. So somebody shelled out for that. Pretty awesome. In the front, handful of tables and a bunch of lights strung up because that's where the band was going to play later. There was a band later in the evening.
Oh, sure. You got to have a band.
And a small, not a food truck, but kind of a little like hitch. It
was a horse trailer. A former horse trailer.
Former horse trailer that been converted into a bar by some friends of the Noonan family. I think that they came
a company that they met at an event, and they hired these two women. I don't have the card with me, but
they told me they were friends or knew them otherwise.
They met them at some other events, so they were friendly. I don't know. I don't mean to contradict you.
Convert a horse trailer into a bar, making specialty cocktails, you know, with a sandwich board. So, you know, you walk up, you see a couple bouncy castles, a little, you know, custom service bar, a bunch of tables set up for a band. It's like, all right, I'm at an event, right? An outdoor porta potty, one of the very fancy ones where you step in and it's like got wood panels. You feel like you're in a real bathroom and
air conditioned.
air conditioned. I mean, it's really nice. Then
That
roll
was
out
one.
of-
That was brother number 4. That was his. That was his contribution to the party. Was the fancy porta potties. Because back in the old days, we had one blue plastic porta potty sitting on the side of my parents' house because there were just too many guys who were peeing everywhere. So finally, they were like, "We ought to at least get one porta potty." But now, not like this. This was they brought it in, and it. Oh man, yeah, electricity and air conditioning, and yeah, it was insane.
That was great. Then you get to the back. There's a big tent set up with a bunch of tables under it. Felt like an outdoor wedding reception, honestly. Bunch of tables set up with catering, and there were some really good fixins. They had like chicken from Popeyes and hot dogs and burgers and macaroni and cheese, and it was the whole thing. And then the aforementioned built-in bar along the patio, where that was a full-service deal, and there was a nice lady serving up drinks. So, plus tons of buckets of beer, which I believe was present companies was involved in that. Excellent beer choices, by the way.
Thank you. We did have a lot of nice beer. My thanks to our friends at Revolution, who I bought the beer directly from the brewery, which was great, and we had domestic beers because, as I said, couldn't have just my crazy beers. Had to have some mass-produced beers, but we had it was a nice. We bought too much beer. Let me just say that. That was people are now assessing the fest and the amount of things that we bought. And I had said, to them, listen, there's a number of things, because they were telling me how much beer they thought I should buy. And it was 30 cases is what I bought. 30 cases of beer. It's a lot of beer. And I said to them, that's too much beer. Because one, people aren't drinking like they used to when they have families and they have to drive home, and there's a lot of things going into it. So people are not going to be drinking as much. And every one of them, even my brothers who don't drink anymore, said, well, my friends will. And I'm like, no, they won't, but okay. And then the other thing was the ladies who ran the drink cart, the drink wagon, and they, all those flowers that are in front of it, they brought those. They decorated that whole area themselves.
Wow.
So they had 4 signature cocktails. Well, and the signature cocktails were right as you walked in. So people were enjoying those because, 1, they were delicious. And 2, I don't go to, this is the first party I went to that had, other than a wedding, that had a signature cocktail. Yeah. I know you had two cocktails at your wedding. They were delicious. So other than weddings, I don't go to people's houses. I don't go to party. But so people were coming in, they were seeing this, then they were seeing people that they hadn't seen in a long time. So they were spending a lot of time out front before they ever got to the back. And there was a tub with beer and stuff in it, and pop and water and all that kind of stuff. But it was to the side, and the novelty of having the cocktail wagon. So I don't know what happened to all the beer. I was told we had to put it all on ice before the party. And I'm like, we shouldn't. We should keep some of it back, because then we can save it for another party. But if we put it all on the ice, we're kind of stuck. Put it all on the ice. Okay. So I don't know what happened to those giant industrial horse troughs of beer. But anyway, so there was that. But yeah, it was all I could think of was, man, this party is over the top. This party is insane. And that's my brother and his partner, Jen, lovely. The party was great. The house is the backyard is an oasis, because they've got a koi pond with the little waterfall. They've got a conversation pit with one of those gas rock fireplace things. They had a photo booth in the back. They had a fence that you could go behind. And then there was the ice cream truck, or the ice cream cooler on the back patio. It was nuts.
I wanted ice cream all night, but I ate so much food.
Yeah.
I had made myself a Popeyes chicken sandwich, spicy chicken sandwich. I had 2 hot dogs. I was done. So.
Well, and then So that food was done, and they had salads and everything, and we knew what was going to be on the menu. We had some input on stuff, and that was the other thing. I kept going, if it's really hot, people aren't going to be eating as much because it's hot. People were eating. Then the taco guy showed up. So there was a taco guy that came from Pilsen who was making 3 different kinds of tacos after 7 while the band was playing. I say this and it's like, what am I? The Great Gatsby? Where was I? I'm just wandering about at this garden party. And then because one of my brothers doesn't drink anymore and he really loves coffee, he hired a coffee cart to come. This is what I was having fun in the backyard talking to you guys. And I didn't venture out to, I did finally get a taco, but I didn't venture out to the coffee cart, and I've heard nothing but rave reviews about this coffee guy.
It was amazing. He was great.
Yeah, my mom said she had one of his specialty brew things with a couple of ingredients. She had 2 of them, which explains why she was still there at like 12:30.
I was pounding coffee just so I could make some room in my stomach for the ice cream, which I then went and had some of.
Oh, the ice cream was good. It was great. It was nice to see everybody. And it was great to see, I saw people that I hadn't seen in, you guys, but then other people that I hadn't seen in years because of this. And there were family there, and there were babies. I got to see my cousin's baby who I hadn't seen. Oddly, you will attest to this, Cody. She was the one baby I could not woo. Most babies seem to enjoy me. They enjoy my company. She did not.
My kid loves you.
And I love your kid. He's out of control. He's and I say that in the best possible way. He makes me laugh because like he'll be looking at it and he's conjuring up thoughts and then he makes his little squishy face and he laughs. Oh man. And yeah, he and I hung out. He and Debbie hung out for a while. He is your son loves to party. And I gotta give you kudos. That kid hung tight until finally at 11:30 he went, this is ridiculous. I'm a 9-month-old baby. What am I doing out partying at 11:30 on a Saturday night? And he let you know in no uncertain terms, saddle up because we're going home. But up until then, man, he was the life of the party.
He was
laughing and walking, and he wanted to hang out. We should have stayed out front more with the band because he was having a ball with the band.
I know. My wife was worried that the band was too loud, though. So
sure.
Get him away from that. But no, he's an extroverted little baby. He likes to party and meet people and hang out, and it was great. He ate a ton. He always just kept bringing in plates of fruits and vegetables, and it was pretty fantastic.
It was he's just fun. He's such a good-natured baby. My cousin's another cousin's baby was there. He's a good-natured baby. All the kids were there. Did you make it to the candy store? That was the other inflatable. The one was a giant bounce house with an obstacle course in it, which I did want to go in, but my brothers were all teasing me because there's been bounce house accidents in the past with me, incidents. One was on Molly's 3rd birthday, right before we moved to California. It was about 100 degrees out, and everybody was in the bounce house, and everybody was soaked with sweat, and it was unbelievable. My cousin's wife was in there, and she was losing her mind, blah, blah. And I went in, and I was huge then. And I'm in the bounce house, and I'm sweaty, and I'm probably drunk. And I bounced off the wall, and the net windows that are in there?
Yeah. I
kind of crashed in the net window and fell between the base of the bounce house kind of in the window, and it started to collapse on me, and I couldn't get out. And the bounce house was literally starting to smother me. And all I could hear as I'm dying in my own front yard is everybody in my family laughing at me. And my brother Dennis goes, get this on tape. It'll be America's Funniest Home Video. And I was panicked because I couldn't get up. I couldn't get any leverage. I was stuck in the rope like a tuna at a fishing boat. And the bounce house had collapsed down. It was horrifying.
Wow.
Horrifying. So they were all like, oh, let's get Brian to the bounce house Saturday. Oh, let's get Brian to the bounce house.
It's dark.
It's horrifying.
Yeah.
But this is the family I was born into.
Sure.
One that they can't wait to see me perish in some horrible inflatable accident. So I stayed away. I steered clear. I did after setup because we got there at like 10:30 Saturday morning, and we're setting up the tables and chairs and everything else. I took a moment to myself with a bottle of water, and I sat on the step, the ramp that went into the bounce house, but I did not venture in. And I didn't venture in. The other inflatable thing was a giant candy store. Mm-hmm. Like you would see at a state fair. It was that size. Like, this is something you would see at the state fair with people selling churros and things out of it. But they had bought all this candy for the kids, and my 3 nieces were in charge of the candy shop. And because nothing can just be simple, there were engraved bags or embossed bags with the Sweet Shop logo on it. The girls all had name tags on, and they took their jobs very seriously.
Oh yeah.
But I did not get any of the candy. I didn't get any either. I didn't wander out for the candy.
Right. No. And I saw a few people with the bags of the candy. There are t-shirts. I should have worn my t-shirt tonight, but I haven't showered today.
I didn't wear my t-shirt either.
Well, next time, because I'm not here next week, but the week after we'll wear the t-shirts.
No, next week we're off. Next week is vacation. We got a lot to do. We don't have time to be doing these every day.
No, sure. Week. And the other thing was there really weren't any like partiers there. Like no one was of the age of like, that age of like 20 to 24 where like they're around free liquor and they're just going to get lit and it's going to get all crazy. There were a handful of high schoolers. I think there was 1 or 2 groups, maybe like 6 to 10 high schoolers.
Yeah. And
but almost everyone else was it seemed a little later in that, like past the I'm just going to get wrecked age.
There were people who were just about to go into college, still under 21, and people who were over 21 that graduated from college. And that goes back to my thing that people were not, I only saw one person really hammered. Mm-hmm. And it was one of my cousins. And she was insane.
We had a lovely conversation.
Did you?
Big fan of yours. Brian,
did you get a word in edgewise?
Nope.
Okay. That's what I wanted to check. Here, I wanted to show for reference. This is this is you were walking in. That's me. My head got very sunburned from working outside all day. Oh. But this is the house is way back here. But this is the walking in. You saw the balloons and said Noonan Fest. That's the bounce house, and that's the inflatable candy store right behind it. And then you can kind of see the corner of the air conditioned toilets.
Yeah.
So that's that. That was a little insane.
It was rad. I loved the custom cocktails. I loved the food. I mean, it was the company was good. It was good. It was great seeing you. It was the first time I've seen Craig since before the pandemic.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's been almost 2 years since I've seen him, I think.
I know. Crazy. It was crazy to see him in person. I'm used to seeing him from the chest up on screen somewhere or talking to him on the phone.
Right. But I hadn't seen Jeff at least 2 years.
Yeah.
Probably maybe a little under 2 years, but Roger, we saw about a month ago, but I don't see him often,
No.
So
and it was nice to see, it was wild. It was almost like somebody described it as a street fest, because there was so much going on. It was nice. I saw all my cousins were there. My aunts were all there. So, and it was very nice. It was one of those things where I just kept shaking my head going, oh my God, if I was just a guest, it would have been overwhelming. Having been inside it, it's like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is crazy. But it's one of those things where you got to make a splash, I guess.
You prepped me for it though. So I wasn't surprised. I kind of knew all that was coming, and then I show up. I'm like, okay, yeah, there's the bouncy castles. Brian said would be there. Oh, there's the horse trailer with the custom cocktails. Oh yeah, here's all the food in the back and stuff. I mean, it was still a little fancier than I expected. I really wanted to get in that hot tub outside.
You should have.
It was like an in-ground, just a kind of small little step in the hot tub, like kind of right there in a multi-tier back patio. The back patio is phenomenal. phenomenal.
Their backyard is gorgeous, and it
It's
butts
great.
right up to a golf course. So there's nothing behind them. A lot of trees, and like once you got past all those trees and stuff, go down a hill. There's a creek, or do you say crick? And then it's a country club. So
you couldn't see
can't
any of that.
see
I thought
anything.
it was a forest. I thought it was literally a forest they backed up onto. I didn't know there was anything on the other side.
That's beautiful. That's the best part, that you don't see anything. And it's a cul-de-sac, so they have one next door neighbor who came over. How did you meet the next door neighbor and end up going in his house?
Coffee line. It was the coffee. I was in line for the coffee with him. We talked for a minute, and I asked him, how do you know everybody? He said I lived there. I mentioned you were there, and he said he listened to you on the radio and loves you on the radio. I was like, well, hey, let's go say hi. Brought him back. He said hi for a minute, talked for a minute, and then we went back. I went back to the coffee cart later. And he wanted to show me something, but I don't remember what.
Was it his gazebo?
It was. So
and that's not a euphemism.
No. So okay. So you saw the Noonan Fest balloons and the bouncy castles, right? And then on the left, next to where the horse trailer was serving the custom cocktails, once that left, that's the coffee cart pulled up. Directly behind the coffee cart, there was a path in the line of trees lining the property. There's just a small opening, like a few feet wide, and you could just step 2 feet in the neighbor's yard. So I stepped 2 feet and I'm on his front porch. He shows me this this brick pizza oven that he had put in after he moved there. And then he walks me to the back. He's got a beautiful back deck.
Yes, he does.
Their decks are nice. He's got a beautiful back deck with a little walkway into this gigantic gazebo. It's at least 2 stories high with a ceiling fan up top, all totally enclosed. We step into it. There's a table out there, like 4 chairs, a TV. I mean, it's like a giant living room.
Oh, wow.
Totally open. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. He flips on the fan and it felt like air conditioning. It felt like I was inside it was air conditioned environment just from this one fan. Unbelievable. So that guy knew how to live it up. He's a pediatrician, I believe. And
okay.
Yeah, I know he was a pediatrician because we talked about my kid a little bit when he came in the back, and he's like, yeah, I'm a doctor of like 4 of the people here because it's a local and a local pediatrician. So that guy was cool. So it was quite the adventure. Fortunately, my wife DD'd for us back. It was a hike for us. It was like almost an hour.
Yeah, it's out there. It's everybody who's not used to driving to the far south suburbs was like, holy cow, this is And for us, that's, we grew up not in that town, but a couple towns over. And that was the old stomping grounds, but that was the fancy neighborhood that we didn't really hang in Flossmoor that much, but it was, it was great. Your son. So I loved hanging out with your son because we can communicate better and he doesn't judge. He just wants to, he doesn't care. As long as he can try to eat some wood chips and rocks. Kid loves to eat. He loves to eat just about anything. Wood chips.
Does.
He was, if he left to his own devices, he probably would have cleared all the landscaping, all the wood chips off their property.
That's
he
accurate.
wanted to eat those wood chips. But at one point he and I were walking around and he was making his way to the bar. And I thought, I like this kid already. And now he's going to the bar. I like this kid even more. I didn't think it was possible. And the bartender was like, oh, how old is he? Is he yours? I go, no, he's not mine. I just follow little kids around parties. That's what I do. She's like, what? Nothing. How old is he? And I said, hang on a minute. And I lifted him up and no, you can't eat those. I said, he's like 9-10 months old. I think he'll be one at the beginning of September. And she was like, oh, he's so big. Because your son is very tall and he gets taller. And now that he's walking, he walks. It's a little almost, he waves his arms kind of in the air sometimes when he's walking, almost like he's an orangutan. And so he looks even taller and he's laughing and and then every once in a while you see him go, uh-oh, this is not, and then plunk, he sits down, but then he pops right back up and he's on the road. And she was like, oh, he's so tall. I said, yeah, his dad's tall and blah, blah, blah. And then he tried to reach for something on the bar. I was like, I can't let you get drunk now. This is your mom and dad are not going to enjoy that. If I'm like, hey, come on. Where's Brian and the baby? I think they're both drinking down in the conversation pit. Maybe they're behind the fence.
Sure.
Yeah.
But you told me that you earlier in the show, you alluded to there was something concerning or terrifying about him. I don't remember what your exact words were.
Not terrifying. No, everything.
Was.
The only thing I was sad is that he lost his pacifier.
Oh man,
And
that was tough.
That was it. That was about when when he let you know that it was time to go.
Yeah,
I'm tired. The terrifying part was I said he's walking now, which was exciting and terrifying because at one point near the end of the night when he was getting tired and his balance was a wee bit off, we were down sitting. It's a conversation pit with the stone fire thing, the fire pit. And the corners are not kid friendly. They are sharp stone corners. And a couple times he went down and I was right near him. I was terrified he was going to split his head open.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, oh my God. And it doesn't matter how old your kids are. When you're around toddlers, you revert back to that, like, watch out. So that was the terrifying part. I was just, all I wanted to do was get through the night without having him to get stitches.
Yeah.
Because that would have been bad. And he did, man. He wanted to go in that koi pond too. Anything you didn't want him to do, he was just like every other kid. That's exactly what he needed to do.
Oh, he's still into that. Today, finally, a baby gate arrived that will fit in our staircase because we have weird staircases. So finally, I've barred off the stairs. But he was pretty, I finished installing it around dinner time. And then after dinner, we kind of brought him up. So he hasn't hung out downstairs and experienced the fact that he can no longer go upstairs at will, which this week is all he has been doing nonstop.
Oh, sure.
He learned to climb he literally climbed his first staircase when he was like 6 or 7 months old. For sure. It was at least 2 or 3 months ago. I guarantee you. And so this isn't new. He did it a bunch, nonstop for a week. And then he didn't do it for at least a month. And here we are now. So I might have frozen. Did I freeze?
Just for a second.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll see how that goes tomorrow. It could be a fun day for.
Oh, there's gonna be a lot of screaming at the house.
Screaming.
Then he's gonna get a tin cup and just drag it across the bars like he's an inmate. Attica, little tiny inmate. Then he'll fall on his bottom. Then he'll get up and do it again. They'll make that funny squishy face. I realized, and it was one of those days. Have you ever had one of these? I know you have. One of these drinking days where it's so hot and you're sweating that no matter how much you drink, it doesn't seem to affect you at all.
Oh yeah, that was me.
Yeah, that was me too. I had been drinking beer. Well, I had a couple of the signature cocktails because I figured I should try them. So one was the Noonan Mule, and they all had unusual ingredients. So you had to be brave and you had to trust the process of the ladies making the drinks. There was a Noonan Mule. There was a Pat named after my dad, a Patsy named after my mom, and then a Pioneer Punch. And they called it the Pioneer Punch because in Ireland, people who stopped drinking joined this group called the Pioneers. So it was a non-alcoholic punch. It was for people who didn't drink or kids or whatever. But being that a lot of our parties have always revolved around alcohol, I was chatting up the mixologist and I said, that Pioneer Punch sounds really good, but what if I wanted to take it to another level? What would someone put in there to take it to another level? She said, well, I would recommend vodka. We don't have any in the trailer. I was like, somebody will bring you some vodka. So I guess there were a lot of people. I never had one, but I guess a lot of adults decided to go with the Pioneer Punch, the adult version of the Pioneer Punch.
Oh man!
So yeah, those things were fun. It was fun, and again, because everybody's an adult and has families and stuff, the only person that was hammered was my cousin, who was engaged you in conversation and engaged me, and then at the end of the night when almost nobody else was there, I rarely feel sorry for my mom. But during this conversation, I did. Because my mom had that look like, somebody come save me. Like, she's your niece. What do you want us to save her for?
That is hilarious.
It was a little wild. But yeah, and then the band, I heard like 4 songs from the band. And I guess people were dancing. I heard this later that people were dancing. It turned into a regular old hootenanny out front.
It felt like a wedding reception without the wedding. It really did.
Yes. Yeah.
No, honestly, what we were talking about on the way back, and I was like, the one thing kind of missing was there wasn't like an address. Like, I feel like maybe during dinner, your brother should have grabbed the mic and been like, "Hey, everybody, thanks for coming." And whatever, like cheers or something. Just, like a one sentence kind of to just kind of center the thing, because it felt so grand. And I was, the whole time you're just kind of enjoying yourself, and you're like, well, I showed up, I'm drinking a bunch, I'm talking to people, and then I leave. And there are people that probably could have come and not even talked to him, So,
I missed a number of people who I heard were there that I didn't see.
Oh, there you go.
Really? Yeah, they were here? Well,
that was the only thing, though. But otherwise, I mean, so you'll have to put that on the, on the docket for next year.
Somebody's going to have to give a speech. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to happen next year. I don't know.
Which is a thing you wouldn't do at a party, and I wouldn't have thought of it. I wouldn't have, suggested it ahead of time. But after the event, I started to think, I wonder if that would have just kind of tied a little bow around some of the festivities. Clearly, I'm not complaining, because the whole thing was a blast.
I didn't take it as a complaint.
But yeah, it was that like grandiose of an event that it almost felt like it needed some kind of just like quick little. Although maybe he might have actually said something before the band started that I missed, because I think my wife mentioned he might have said something. So maybe he even didn't. I just missed it.
Yeah,
but dinner, I think, would have been a better spot,
chance.
because everybody ate it around the same time. The band people were still kind of back and forth, front and the back. And then the DJ played after the band.
Yeah, in the breaks and while they were packing up, the DJ played. Yeah, well, I told you, everybody in the family got documents from the band. And so each of us had to pick 10 songs, 5 that the band was definitely going to play, and 5 that maybe they would play. And the same with the DJ, 10 songs, 5 that you must play. The problem was we did it like a month ago, and I couldn't for the life of me remember what I picked. But then they played Rock and Roll All Night. I was like, I know I picked that one. Great Balls of Fire. Oh, I know I know that was on my list, but I couldn't remember what I had put on, because one of my cousins was like, "Oh, what'd you pick?" I don't know. Debbie and I sat at the table on the 5th of July. Debbie and I sat at the kitchen table, and we went through the documents and we picked our songs, but that was it. So it was a month ago. Yeah, I got a lot of stuff on my mind between then and now. Plus, people were, maybe our memories were a little bad because people were behind the fence. The fence was behind the fence was an area that was for smoking, cigarettes and cannabis. So there was a lot of people going behind the fence. Which I would say next year, or if he has another party, he has to spruce up the behind the fence area. There's broken glass, and it felt like you were out behind a dumpster at a Wendy's. Oh man, I just had a spicy chicken sandwich. Now I'm gonna get high.
But it did give a little, a little bit of a scenic break from the beautiful, well-groomed, all the rest of it. Have the kind of shoddy area off to the side.
It was very street. It was
very
very street urban setting. That one little patch on the side of the house behind a wooden fence that you couldn't see. Everything else is idyllic. You look out there, and all right, let me ask you this, because I had this conversation with a couple people. I don't know what to call his girlfriend. I know her name, but when I'm talking about her in a story, is it partner? Is it girlfriend? My brother's 50. Does he have a girlfriend? Because is she? Because they're both grown adults, or is she his partner?
Girlfriend.
All right.
I mean, you could say partner, but girlfriend is entirely appropriate.
His paramour?
Would that be call it that? You could say
his lady friend,
significant other, his. Yeah, it doesn't. But girlfriend is.
All right, girlfriend just seems very high school.
I'm very high school.
Well, that's true. I guess maybe I shouldn't have asked you then, because it gets a high school answer.
Never should. No, this is also the first time I've seen all of you and your brothers at the same place the same time, which was I got to talk to
true.
everyone but one. And I don't
Which
think
one?
I've ever met him before.
Which
He's the
one?
one that came from up north.
Oh, number 2.
And he seems radically different than the rest of you.
Yeah, well, yes. Okay. I will give
Just
you yes.
Just the first glance. I didn't get to talk to him.
He is very fancy. And I mean these as compliments.
We all very fancy.
He quit drinking boy.
That's why
15 years ago or something.
Yep, that'll do it. Totally
Well,
different.
no, listen, 60% of my family doesn't drink anymore. Out of the 5 of us, 3 don't drink. You know, but no, he was funny because he used to be a banquet captain at where was it? I don't know, some restaurant here, and then he was doing it in Minnesota too when they first moved there. So when we got there, he was busy setting up the buffet line and where the grills would be and folding the tablecloths just so that the fronts hit the ground just at the right thing and the corners were perfect. And it was like, oh, nobody bother him. He's in his zone, man. And then he was talking to the cooks and and he was like, it was funny. He goes, oh no, this guy in charge, he knows what he's doing. And I was like, then why do you keep checking on him? Oh no, he knows what he's doing. He's got it all down. So, but he is, now I don't know exactly what he does. He works for 3M in a creative capacity, I think creating events and stuff, which he had done before. So he's, and he enjoys shopping. That's like that's his thing, but he doesn't just buy stuff. For him, it's the hunt to find the deal. So he dresses very well, but there's always a story behind whatever it is.
That's awesome. I'm kind of like that. Oh, look, my siblings and I are all very different.
We are vastly different.
So it's got to be that way with, it's not it wasn't a knock or anything, but it was funny to
I
see
didn't
just
take it
at
there.
first glance, the brother hosting the party, I literally thought was you because you looked so alike from certain angles. I was like, wait, there's Brian. Nope, that's not Brian. You
What's the hair? It's the hair.
Hawaiian shirt. Your hair looks exactly the same. I mean, there's some resemblance there.
It used to be my youngest brother and I, people always, because he's bald. And when I had my hair real short, and we tend to this more physically resemble each other. But yeah, it was there. And then, 2 and 4 don't really look like 1, 3, and 5. So I don't know. Everybody looks different. My nieces, all 3 of them look completely different, so I don't know. But yes, it was strange to have, we are not all together all that often. And when we were trying to get a picture, family picture, that was, it's like my sister-in-law and my wife voluntarily took on the mantle of being the wranglers and not taking any guff from my brothers about trying to get us. Well, first we tried getting into the photo booth with my mom. And we all like to keep a good distance from each other. So it was hard to get us scrunched into the frame. So in all of there was a photo booth that had the 3-picture thing. Well, myself and my number 4 brother, 3/4 of us are cut out of all the pictures. So my wife and my sister-in-law were like, we're going to get your mom out here just outside of the photo booth and the 5 of you, and they'll have the beautiful tree in the background. And a couple of my brothers are like, why? We already did a picture. And Debbie goes, hey, she's 85 years old. She might not be around that much longer. Stand there and take a damn picture. And I was like, woo-hoo. Yeah, well, she's been in the family long enough. She's put her time in. She's bona fide, nice. So she's been around. But it was, I'm glad you could come. I'm glad you had a good time. It was, I don't know if it can be repeated.
Me neither, but thanks for having me. Not missing the next one if it happens for sure.
No, well,
even if it's not that fancy.
If I invite you over to my house, it's not going to be that fancy.
Fine.
I'll
I'm down.
I'll smoke some meats, and then we'll smoke some weed, and whatever.
That's all you need. Did that edible ever hit you?
No. No, I did half an edible. It didn't hit me.
It's because of the aforementioned like sweat and moving and food. Like there's some days because I may or may not have taken a puff or two behind the fence, and it was the same. And I had 4 cocktails, and I was like, I could drive home. I mean, I didn't and wouldn't have, but like I was fine. It was just full. You know, it was like, ugh.
Well, by the end of the night, I was so tired because, like I said, we had been there since 10:30. We had worked nonstop till about from 10:30 to 2. And then, you know, I'd been on my feet all day. We were drinking and having a good time and talking to people, blah, blah, blah. And then it was getting late. And I was like, well, I'm going to go pick up my bean bags and put that stuff in the car and come back. So by the time I finally walked out, everybody, my family was all sitting there, and I walked out and I was moving really slow. And it was because I was sore and I was exhausted. And I think everybody thought I was hammered because one of my brothers goes, "Oh, how are you?" And I'm like, "I'm fine. How are you?" I said, I'm old and I'm in pain, so I'm moving a little slow. But yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time. So we will see. I don't know what that means. Mike's comment.
I'll look it up.
No idea. Yeah, translate it for me, Cody. Hey, I made a change. I made a change in the hair plan. You know, I told you I was going to wait till the end of the month before I made a decision. Well, I texted you the other day. I'm actually going to your salon this Friday. Not to get it cut, just to get it cleaned up a little bit for the wedding. I want my hair to still be long. I'm enjoying the long, but I need it just cleaned up a little in the back and maybe on the side, so it's not like the other day you saw it. It was huge. It almost had a Gene Simmons hair helmet look to it, much to my dismay. So I'm going to see because I've never talked to a real stylist about how to do long hair. I don't know what to do with it. You know,
so you're coming all the way out here to get a hair thing. Interesting.
Yeah, because I don't know anywhere, you know, I've always been, well, for one thing, I had the same hairstyle for 35 years. And in that 35 years, I think I only had 4 or 5 barbers. I went to the same guys all the time because they knew what they were doing. When I moved to Los Angeles, I walked up to guys at the mall, which was very weird. Guys who had my same haircut, and I would say, "Excuse me, where did you get your haircut?" And I found a guy, I liked it, I stuck with it. It was a crazy old school barbershop. I almost cried because before I left LA, I had one guy cutting my hair for years and years and years. Came back from LA, went back to him for a number of years, and then he retired. He had the audacity to retire. For a while, I followed a barber from one shop to another shop, and then he had some problems, and for a while, he was cutting hair out of a truck stop, and I would go to the truck stop to get my hair cut. So now that I've allowed my hair to become a thing, I need somebody to tell me how to make it presentable.
Yeah, what to do with it. I get it.
Yeah, I think just a little off, just a tiny bit off the bat. Well, your wife told me if I don't cut it, I'll get split ends. I don't want split ends.
No, you don't want split ends. That's the worst.
I don't want split ends.
I've heard.
So we'll see. But yeah, I'm going to come out. I'll come out there the first time and see what they do. I'm used to driving for a haircut, you know.
Sure. All right. Well, so I hope they take care of you. Yeah, the guy that usually does my hair was unavailable for the next 3 weeks. And so I asked when I went in, I was like, "Hey, is that guy still work here?" And they said, "Yeah, he's just booked." Okay. But the guy that did mine's fine. And he did my son's first haircut. So he'll be Probably the
Yeah,
guy.
I forget who I'm going to. I made the appointment online. I'm like, I just want to see. No, Marta, I can't go back to New Orleans for a haircut. Plus, I saw pictures. Let's be honest. I looked at the pictures of after she cut my hair, and it was not the greatest. So now it's been almost a year. I'll be like 3 weeks shy of a year that somebody did something to my hair, and we'll see. But I don't know. So we'll know. Well, you'll see it in 2 weeks when we come back. Because next week, just if you're just joining us, where have you been? We're done. Why do you come in at the end? That's ridiculous. But you can listen to this whenever. We're off next week, so there will be no broadcast next week. You can listen to all the old broadcasts. You can follow us everywhere that fine podcasts are peddled and hawked and pandered to. So do all of that. But yeah, we're taking next week off, so we will be back on the 17th of August. Will there be stories? Yes. Here's a tease for one story. I'm going to drive through the mountains to a dispensary to get the cream that I use for my arthritis on my wrist that I can only find in Colorado. And I found it at the closest dispensary to where we're going to be. It's a 30-minute drive. So I'm going to the Bud Depot. What else will I leave the Bud Depot with? I'm going just for cream. My mom was like, "You're going to get it?" And I was like, "Yeah." All right, I'll give you my order. I'll tell you how many jars I need. All right. So we'll be muling that back. There will be plenty of stories from my trip, from Cody's adventures. Anything else you need to cover?
No, in a couple weeks I'll have a lot of stuff to get into. So looking forward to that.
We will have stuff to get into. Thanks again to Danielle D'Alessandro. She is the executive director of the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild. Again, if you're interested in going to Beer Under Glass, go to illinoisbeer.org. Get your tickets. It's happening Friday, the 27th of August at the Garfield Park Conservatory. So do that. Thanks to everybody. If you like Roger and you like hearing him talk, his audiobook is out now on Audible and wherever else you can get audiobooks. So go listen to Roger's audiobook. And then, follow him out everywhere on social media because you'll never see too many pictures from Roger. I guarantee it. Every channel today had a picture of his lawn.
Really?
Multiple pictures of his lawn. That's right. We didn't plug Cody's podcast yet. Well, that is just dumb. You need to go to curiositydaily.com and check out Cody on the Curiosity Daily podcast. I saw that you're going to be interviewing. Have you done this? You've got an interview with an astronaut.
We are interviewing the astronaut on Friday.
All right. And I saw you tweeted out your questions. They were fantastic.
Pretty.
You're a good interviewer. If those are your questions, you're gonna get to the bottom of what it's like to be in space and be a spaceman.
Gotta follow me at producer Cody. Is that what I am? Yeah, on Twitter. Get on the Twitter. Follow me at producer Cody.
Yeah, it's right there. Follow him. Follow us all. Follow everybody. But follow at producer Cody. Look at how the graphics just come in. It's almost like we have a script from a segment producer, but we don't. We're just ready to go. We're just ready to knock out the graphics. Very fancy. And if you're listening on an audio platform, you go, what graphics? This is audio. Well, is it? Maybe. I don't know. All right. Thank you all for listening. Again, we do appreciate. I appreciate it. I don't know. I'm not going to speak for Cody. Cody has to speak.
I would say I appreciate it. I also am of the appreciative.
Okay. I didn't want to seem like I was, I didn't want to have the audacity to speak for you.
Nah.
That would have been rude.
Wouldn't worry about that.
Rude. All right. Well, I do. I worry about everything. I worry nonstop about every little thing. Maybe we'll have other big news next week or in 2 weeks, but there's a lot going on. So stay safe. Put a mask on. Yes, I did. I pushed my opinion on you. Wear a mask. We're not, things are getting, look at the maps. Things are getting very bad, but wear a mask, be safe, be nice to each other. Listen to Cody on the Curiosity Daily podcast. Follow us on Twitter. Do whatever you need to do. Just be nice. So we will talk to you again in a couple of weeks. Good night.
Okay, bye.